So this is the step-by-step process on how to create a surgical guide in software. Your step one would be the data acquisition, so importing your intraoral scan, because this is going to be used for a tooth-borne guide. This is your CT scan, and then you're going to mesh your intraoral scan, and this is where you're going to be able to use or build your guide. So you're actually going to be building your guide on the intraoral STL. This patient currently has 2 implants and is looking for another implant inside number 6. So do we need a map manipulator nerve for this case? We do not, but we can. We can run an auto detect function and be able to map the nerves on both sides, just to show how that works. Current AI features help make this pretty easy. The second step would be to do the aesthetic wax up, which is pretty simple. All we would have to do is add a tooth, the teeth that we're missing, 6 through 11. We can select the size of teeth and then go and click on our model to add the teeth. Now you can go through the process of reordinate these and make sure they all look good. For single teeth, this is very, very simple. For a big area like this, it just takes a little bit more time. So what we actually did was we actually created our wax up already. And we already imported that STL and meshed it to our data, right? So at this point, we need to plan the desired implant and turn our nerves off. So we'll go into the software, plan our implant. We would like to select what implant system and what implant we're using. Scroll down. Let's just say we're going to do a 4.5 by 13 in the maxilla. Go ahead and place that implant here. Now you can see from these views, you're going to have to keep it parallel with this implant, 3 millimeters away, and also make sure it's coming out in a nice restorative plane. Plenty of sound bone for this guide. And this is a good view to rotate the implant in. Now it's time to decide if you're going to use a pilot drill, partially fully guided, or how you're going to work this case. So now we're done with the aesthetic wax up because we no longer need this. We won't be building a guide on that. We'll be building a guide on these teeth. For the purposes of this, I'd like to do a pilot drill guide. So just the initial guide. So in our implant planning, we're going to change this guide tube. You can see that's the original offset. We're going to change it to a pilot drill. You can see how it changed the diameter. And then this inner diameter of the guide tube is going to be 2.1. Now you can see how it's not on the tooth anymore, where it was before hitting the tooth. So anything bigger than a pilot would obstruct and hit this tooth. Now we just need to build our guide, which is pretty simple. We're going to go to Guide Panel. We're going to go into Draw Curve. Now this offset is automatically generated, so we're going to have to go back in the software and move this back down to 2.1. Guide Panel, Draw Curve. About where we want it. And just for purposes to help it seat, I'd like to add a little window. All right. I'm going to create surgical guide and let it calculate. So here's our surgical guide. And that's pretty much it. I'll allow it to be able to seat here in the patient's mouth, and then I'll be able to see its seat here on the soft tissue, and this will be the other aspect. We do not need lateral pins for fixation because we're going to be using the teeth as guides. And that's pretty much it. All you have to do is export that and export this guide and 3D print it now. just so I happen to do this case, and I want to show you the outcome. So this is the guide in the patient's mouth. You can see the intimate contact of the tooth. This is the pilot drill in the, obviously through the surgical guide, and then this is another view of that guide. Then this is the result you can typically expect, how we paralleled our implant to our pilot drill, and this is the initial outcome of our pilot, which looks fantastic. From here on out, everything's going to be done free-handed, but continue the pilot drill trajectory, buccal lingual and mesial distal width, to be able to get our implant stabilized. That's pretty much it. Very simplified approach to pilot drill guide for single tooth implant.